Okay, and we are live. Hello, everybody on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Good to have you all here. I'm going through the news from over the weekend and from the last few days and what's happening in artificial intelligence and running through the updates, what I think is interesting. If you do have any questions about AI, could be to do with AI business, could be to do with AI generally, drop them in the chat and I'll also answer them as well. But what I'm going to be doing is running through what I'm finding interesting in AI right now and then hopping back and forward to your questions. So just to kick us off, the first story that caught my eye was this new Meta chatbot. So if you use WhatsApp or Facebook, you've probably noticed Facebook or Meta, the company now, are pushing more artificial intelligence. So I only recently got the WhatsApp AI. I don't know why. I was one of the last people to get it, and it's not very good. But what they're trying to do now, which is really interesting, is they are going to build and integrate chatbots that message you first. So they are proactive chatbots. Most chatbots you go and talk to. So when you talk to ChatGPT, for example, it's up to you to go to ChatGPT and begin that conversation. A proactive chatbot will be one that engages you in conversation. So it will send the first message, which isn't a tricky thing to do technologically. It's just a strange sociological phenomenon because we aren't really used to these. So this is what Meta's trying to do. So Meta are really doing a big push on artificial intelligence. They are in a great position to become one of the forerunning artificial intelligence companies because they have access to a huge amount of data that other companies do not. They have all of the behavioral and consumer data that comes from people using platforms like Facebook and Instagram. So they're in a really good position. But this new chatbot, so it's not quite out yet, but here we go. I hope you're having a harmonious day, it writes. I wanted to check in and see if you've discovered any new favorite soundtracks or composers recently, or perhaps you'd like some recommendations for your next movie night. Let me know and I'd be happy to help. That's a real example of what a sample AI persona called the maestro of movie magic might send as a proactive message on Messenger, WhatsApp, or Instagram, per guidelines for data labeling firm Aligner that Business Insider viewed. So this is a leaked document about this new plan that Meta have to create proactive chatbots. They're going to reach out to users unprompted and follow up on past conversations, basically drawing people into AI conversations in a way that we haven't really seen before. So this does exist in, here we go, Character AI and Replica. So these are more like AI companionship applications. You might not have heard of these, especially if you work more in the AI for business or AI for productivity sectors. But Character AI, I believe, is the fourth or fifth largest, or I'm sorry, most used artificial intelligence online. There is a, let me pull it up, list of most popular AI tools. I think A16Z have one, Z. Here we go. The top 100 Gen AI consumer applications, fourth edition. So this is fascinating. The first is unsurprisingly ChatGPT. Second is DeepSeek. Again, unsurprising because it has a huge Chinese user base. Third, globally, is Character AI. A lot of people haven't heard of Character AI, but if you are younger in particular, this is one of the predominant AI applications out there. Basically, it's a companionship app. It is not safe for work, so it's not sexually explicit, but it does allow for boyfriend, girlfriend, partner characterizations as well. So Character AI is actually the third most trafficked AI application on Earth, even if you've never heard of it. And in fourth, Perplexity. Fifth, Janto AI. That is also companionship. Six is Claude, my best friend. Seventh is Quillbot. Eighth is Suno. Nine is SpicyChat.ai. I mean, you can guess what that is. And 10 is Dubao. I don't know what that one is. So yeah, the third largest on Earth is a companionship application. And this, I think, is the market that Meta are looking at right now. Meta are looking at Character AI and Replica and thinking, yeah, I want a slice of that pie. But what they have is a huge amount of personal messaging data and interaction between the consumers on their platform for the last couple of decades that they can use to build, I assume, very good companion apps. So both Replica and Character AI allow their chatbots to initiate conversations and ask questions in order to function as AI companions. It's a very dystopian name, isn't it? And Meta are pushing in the same direction. When asked how Meta plans to address safety to avoid situations like character AIs, there was a death of a 14-year-old, and one of the final messages he sent before he sadly killed himself was to character AI, to an avatar of Daenerys from Game of Thrones. That's another story entirely, but it does bring up questions of safeguarding and how safe companionship AIs are, especially when they're used in lieu of actual therapy or actual human connection. So when asked Meta's plans to address safety to avoid situations like character AIs, a spokesperson directed TechCrunch to a series of disclaimers. So basically, Meta said, we have it legally sewn up. Don't ask us these questions. These are awkward questions. So that doesn't fill me with hope. They did say chats with custom AIs cannot replace professional advice. Okay, you shouldn't rely on AI chats for medical, psychological, financial, legal, or any other type of professional advice. So it sounds like Meta are just saying, okay, we have this tied up in contracts, don't sue us, which is not necessarily the answer we want. There's also no age limit for engagement with its chatbots, which is very concerning. So a lot of younger generations are using AI in this way for companionship. And I think in a few years' time, we're going to see what impact that has on social development. And I'm not sure if it's going to be positive. On the surface, the mission is aligned with Mark Zuckerberg's quest to combat the loneliness epidemic. Solving the loneliness epidemic in a way only Mark Zuckerberg would. That's fine. So yeah, I'm a little bit cynical on this. I find companionship AIs a little concerning. And I'm not sure if Meta are necessarily the best guardians of this technology, because their job is keeping people's attention in order to serve up advertising. That is their business model. And as long as they can keep people scrolling, as long as they can keep people engaged on their applications, they make money. So having a proactive chatbot that pulls you back into a conversation, brings you back onto their platform, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Messenger, and then they can generate more advertising revenue. I'm not saying that they aren't doing this to combat loneliness, but I think at the same time, they're going to make money by doing this. So I'm not sure if Meta is necessarily the poster child for this kind of application. So this is an interesting story. And considering how much people hate the AI in WhatsApp, I assume this is going to be fairly unpopular as well. But there will be generations who might use this more. So I've got some questions. I've got lots of people joining in. Somebody's asked, is there anything better than Lovable? Is this for vibe coding? You can tell me what's for specifically. So I actually literally just I'm about to put out a newsletter in about 3 hours time about the different vibe coding tools. Personally, I prefer Lovable. So there's a few on the market right now for vibe coding. Vibe coding, for those of you who aren't aware of the term, which is fair because it's only a few months old, vibe coding is talking to an AI using natural language in order to build software applications. So I could say, hey, I want to build a time management tool. Can you help me build an application that will help me manage my time? And the AI will not only show me how to build that, but will actually construct the application itself. So that's vibe coding. There's a few tools that allow you to do this. Lovable is probably my favorite in terms of simplicity. I'm not being paid to say this. I just like Lovable. There's V0. I've never had good success with V0 personally, but I know some people have. There is Bolt. I found Bolt is very good for extremely simple applications, which you can one-shot, but as soon as you have to start working with it and debugging, I find that it hits limitations. So my personal workflow is I start in Lovable to prototype and to basically see if this is something that is worth building and to test out the basic functionality. And then I take my project from Lovable over to Cursor. Cursor is a more advanced tool. It's a lot harder to start using because you need to be more aware of software development in general. So it looks a lot more like a normal development environment. So especially if you've never coded before, if you boot up Cursor for the first time, you might think like, what on earth is this? But if you get over that learning curve, then it's a really powerful tool to allow you to actually develop working deployable applications and websites. So I start in Lovable, get the basics in place, and then move it over to Cursor for actually making sure everything works. So that 1-2 punch works really well for me. I would say with all the vibe coding tools, so just try different ones out and see what works for your particular use case. Most of them have a free trial. So if you have a particular project in mind, try it out, see how well it does, and then go from there. Everybody has a different favorite. For me, it's Lovable. Ooh, there's a lot of people join through the invite. Sorry, just scrolling through the questions. I watched a documentary about acupuncture. I ended up with pins and needles. That's a good one for Monday morning. Okay, so we just had a look at the new Meta Proactive app. The next piece of news, which I thought was very interesting. So this is a couple have for 18 years tried to get pregnant. They had various IVF treatments. Nothing happened. And because of artificial intelligence, they're finally pregnant. Finally, they are going to have a child. So after trying to conceive for 18 years, one couple is now pregnant with their first child thanks to AI. So this led to lots of jokes about, ChatGPT becoming a father. It's a little more complicated than that. So they'd had several rounds of IVF, which, as you probably know, is extremely expensive. I think they're in America as well, so extremely expensive. So, but they did not work because of azoospermia, a rare condition in which no measurable sperm are present in the male partner's semen, which leads to male infertility. So basically, when you scan, they cannot find the sperm cells. They are hidden. So they cannot be found even after hours of meticulous searching under a microscope. So they tried something called STAR. The STAR method uses AI to help identify and recover hidden sperm in men who once thought they had no sperm at all. So they used artificial intelligence. Basically, it sounds like they used imaging, AI imaging, to find the hidden sperm. They recovered that and then used that to fertilize the eggs. And the baby is due in December. So congratulations to them. So after 18 years of trying, they used a new AI technique, and it allowed them to actually become pregnant for the first time, which is very, very exciting for them. This actually reminded me of another thing that I saw, which much more mundane, but on Reddit, there was a post of somebody who had lost their contact lens on the floor, and they could not see it. Obviously, they're down one contact lens, so it's harder for them to see. They took a photo of the floor and said, "Hey, where's my contact lens?" And ChatGPT managed to identify the location of the contact lens and mark it on an image that it returned. And then they managed to find it. So if you are watching my screen, you can see it right now. So they said, "Find my contact lens," pointed the camera down, and ChatGPT highlighted the contact lens because it could see the difference in the floorboard. So yes, we can use AIs to find hidden sperm. We can also use it to find contact lenses that we've dropped. There are very interesting uses of AI that we don't necessarily think of, both in science, but also in everyday life like this. And I personally love that. I saw both of these uses of artificial intelligence on the same day. One very, very important, allowing this couple to have a baby after 18 years, and the other one, not so important, but maybe more useful in everyday life, being able to find lost objects. I saw some people did, there was another one which someone had lost some Lego in a thick carpet, and it was the same color, and they could not find that Lego. And again, they took a photo and said, "Where's my Lego?" And ChatGPT was able to identify the Lego. It could see the kind of the hard shape of the Lego, the hard edges, when a human eye could not. So we can use it for very cool things when we think about all the potential applications. Just scrolling through. Any questions? Nope. A few more things that I saw this morning. So this was from BBC News. They have a whole article about people who are making money fixing the mistakes that artificial intelligence has made. So we have to take it with a pinch of salt, because the BBC and most journalistic outlets are very anti-AI. It's easy to understand why, because AI is very good at writing, and if your job is being a professional writer, a journalist, AI is something of a threat. So we need to take that in mind. So the BBC, they tend to be very down on AI. That's absolutely fine. So for example, they did not have an article about this baby being conceived after 18 years, but they do have an article about being paid to fix issues caused by AI. So we just need to be a bit careful. But this is a really interesting article because it's just people going on about how they've made a whole business going in and fixing AI errors. So this means a few things for us. Okay. One, I don't think that the businesses these people have created are going to be very sustainable. So if you've created a business around AI making mistakes, you're probably going to have a nasty surprise in a couple of years' time or 6 months' time when AI is not making those mistakes. So that's the one thing I think is probably important, because this article is a bit triumphant. It's like, haha, stupid AI, it can't do these things. And now these individuals are making money fixing mistakes. I don't think that's going to last very long. So that's one thing. Second, this is a potential business opportunity for anyone out there right now. You just need to know that it's going to be short term. But going in and fixing mistakes can make money. So if you are a coder, you can go in and fix code. If you are a copywriter, you can go and fix copywriting, etc., etc. What I would actually recommend doing is going in and using AI, but doing it properly with these businesses. So I think there is a kind of a niche market here, which is fixing the problems, but doing it properly by using AI in a more sophisticated way. Because right now there are a lot of people using it in a naive, non-sophisticated way, and they're coming up with bad results. They are going on and they're typing in, write me some sales copy for my product, and then copy pasting that directly onto their business website, and it's not very good. So if you can do that for them and you can help them with AI, then you can fit in that space between doing it entirely manually and doing it in a naive way. The other thing is this opens up the opportunity to go and train companies. So this means that companies are using artificial intelligence to write copy, to prepare reports, to code websites. They're doing it so badly that they then have to go and pay expensive consultants to fix their work. That tells me something. That tells me that there is a demand for teaching these businesses how to do it properly, because the businesses want to save money, and that's why they're using AI in the first place. But they also don't want to do it so poorly that they then have to hire in a remedial consultant who's going to help them fix their problems. So you can slot in the middle and say, hey, before you mess this up, why don't you get your staff members trained up properly so that you don't have to then go and hire these expensive consultants. So I read this as a very exciting opportunity. So here we go. We have a few different examples. So this is in Gujarat in Northwest India. Copywriter Kashish Bharot says she's been editing content written by AI for US-based clients to make it appear more human and remove sentence patterns that make it sound like AI. So that's another way of doing it. Despite the often poor quality of the content, she says clients are becoming used to the speed of AI and that it is creating unrealistic expectations. So the clients, people who want copywriting, who want code, they now expect it at the speed of AI, but they want the quality of a human. So AI really makes everyone think it's only a few minutes work. Who says that clients are using OpenAI's ChatGPT. However, good copywriting, copy editing like writing, it takes time because you need to think and not curate like AI, which also doesn't understand nuance well because it's curating the data. So the hype around AI has prompted many companies to experiment without clear goals, adequate infrastructure, or realistic understanding of what the technology can deliver. That sounds like opportunity for me. If you know about AI, if you work in a particular industry, you can go and teach them about how to do this. So this is what I personally do. I go and teach workshops, I go into businesses, and I also license my workshop material to other people to go into businesses within their particular industries and show companies, hey, this AI stuff that you're using is really cool, right? Hang on though, let's make sure we're using it right so we can get the cost savings but maintain the quality. huge opportunity right now for anybody who wants to educate and teach people. So I'm just scrolling through the questions. I think I need a filter because it shows me absolutely everything on the screen, which is not very helpful. If you do have any questions, oops, a daisy. No, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry, I just invited someone as a guest. Ignore that. Next up, the Financial Times. So this was, what's this? Antina says, what's your thought on MCP replacing website with a chatbot? What do you mean specifically? Do you mean not having websites at all and using the chatbot instead? I think that's entirely possible. So I used to live in China, and in China, they don't really use websites that much. Instead, they use mini apps on WhatsApp, or it's like a mini website. So the idea of every business needs a website is, I think it's the paradigm that we live in, but it's not necessarily what's going to be the case moving forward. If a business can survive and it can sell and it can trade using just a chatbot, then it does not need a website. I'm not quite sure what the MCP is specifically for. But yeah, we do not necessarily need websites if a chatbot can do the job. Interestingly, Google Map, I just saw some news that they are introducing a chatbot into Google Map itself. So this is slightly unrelated, but it's replacing a normal technology of typing in an address or searching on a website for Moroccan restaurants near me. You can now go into Google Map and query this like you would with ChatGPT, and it will give you recommendations around your town. So that is an example of, normally we would go to Google, we would find a website, and we'd look up the information about where are the good Moroccan restaurants near me. Now we can just do that through a chatbot via Google Apps. So I think, Google Maps. So I think we are going to be increasingly moving in this direction where we use chatbots, we use artificial intelligence instead of going to websites specifically. Next one up is a really interesting one about, well, entry-level jobs. So entry-level jobs and artificial intelligence is a huge topic because entry-level jobs are there are less entry-level jobs because artificial intelligence can allow a smaller number of people to perform the same amount of work as before because they can leverage AI. So I think what we're going to see increasingly is the lower end of the job market shrinking because we do not need as many entrants. We've already seen some of the big four, like KPMG, have had reductions in their graduate programs. They need less people to feed the system, basically, and they've explicitly said it's because of AI. So this is, we're seeing similar things in banking in particular. So they've got some quotes here from like Jamie Dimon. So this is in banking. So here we go. On the job. So in many workplaces, apprenticeship models are simple as sitting down next to an experienced colleague or join a client meeting to watch how it is done, while also learning the ropes by taking more repetitive and basic tasks. So this article was saying there's a problem right now because a lot of that sitting down with someone experienced and just shadowing them, that no longer exists because, well, after COVID or during COVID, we moved a lot into remote work, which means it's very hard to follow around somebody if they are sitting at home in their pajamas on Zoom calls. So because there's less in office, it's harder to do shadowing. It's harder to shadow a senior. And then also learning the ropes by completing repetitive and mundane tasks is also being decreased because we can now use artificial intelligence to do those tasks. So it puts new entrants into a business in a really weird position where they can't learn from people above them, but they also can't learn by doing the mundane stuff because it's being automated. So it's a double threat, basically. Double threat of hybrid working, which means junior staff spend less time observing and listening to more senior colleagues, and generative AI, which makes obsolete many of the routine tasks have been along the building blocks of professional knowledge. So it's a really weird time to be entering the job market as a result of this. So if employers are investing heavily in AI to assist with working practices, tools such as those rolled out by law firm A&O Shearman to deal with antitrust in contracts, or Goldman Sachs to summarize complex documentation and analyze data, are designed to enhance productivity and to automate some of the laborious tasks done by junior investment bankers. However, some, and this is something that I've been going on for ages, some argue that eliminating repetitive tasks means that junior recruits will fail to develop muscle memory, which is essential for critical analysis, as well as the ability to identify mistakes in AI. So right now, you and I, if you've grown up in like a professional environment and you've worked in a job for a certain amount of time, you can tell when the AI is giving you trash answers. You can tell when somebody, or when ChatGPT is giving you absolute nonsense, because you've already lived in that environment, you've already worked in that environment, so you know immediately, oh no, this is rubbish, this is what I need to fix. That is not going to be the case for people who are entering a job for the first time. I mean, how could it be? Unless you build up that experience by working through the mundane and making mistakes, and kind of building that knowledge base, you're not going to have the discernment or the taste or the ability to know whether or not an AI's answer is incorrect. So I think this is going to have the most impact on the job market. It's going to be a slow, creeping, insidious kind of destruction. Whereas we tend to think of AI as this threat, this Terminator-like threat stamping on human skulls. No, it's not going to be that. Instead, it's going to be the slow erosion of human skills at the lower levels, and we do not need to worry about learning certain things because of AI. But that means we lack, the discernment, the ability, the professionalism to know whether AI is doing a good job or not. I think that's going to be really, really dangerous, but it's so subtle that it's hard to combat, especially when it's just so much easier to be lazy and use an artificial intelligence. I had a question. Here we go. Thanks for what you do. This is Alex. Hi, Alex. How do you think schools should bring in AI, and how should kids use AI? Woo, that's a big question. So how should schools use AI? I have a number of teacher friends in primary and secondary school. A lot of their time is not spent teaching students. A lot of their time is spent making lesson plans, making materials, grading, doing all of the ancillary subjects around actually sitting with the kids and helping the kids to learn. That is where I think AI should be used. And there was a study the other day, which was by the Walton, here we go, the Walton Family Foundation and Gallup put together a study where they showed that AI can be used in the classroom. I'm going to pull it up on screen. So is it teacher research? Here we go. Teaching for Tomorrow: Unlocking 6 Weeks a Year with AI. Basically, they found that teachers could use artificial intelligence to save on the legwork. So they're not necessarily using it directly with the kids. I think that's a different topic and a really interesting one. But what they can do right now is use it for class preparation, use it for materials preparation, use it to basically claim back time that they're generally not paid for, which I find mad. I have teacher friends who will work, past their normal hours, and they'll work in the evenings, they'll work at the weekend, they'll work on their holidays, preparing for when they have to go and teach. AI can help with that, and it already is. So 60% of K through 12 teachers report using AI tools this school year. So already there's a high uptake. 26%. 6 weeks is the equivalent time saved per year by teachers who use AI weekly. I think it was 6 hours per week of legwork, grunt work was saved by using artificial intelligence. So I think that's fantastic, because by saving that time, they have more energy and they have more time to sit and work with the kids, which really should be what the education system is about. So I think AI is fantastic for that. In terms of children themselves using AI, different question. I mean, this is a debate we've had for years about when should kids have access to certain technologies? When should a kid have a smartphone? When should a kid be allowed on the internet? Before it was how much TV can a kid watch per day, etc., etc. So this is always going to be a discussion, and every parent is going to have obviously different boundaries, different limits for the child. Absolutely. I think that my personal view is that AI is probably a more productive, or using an AI is probably a more productive use of time than scrolling on TikTok or Instagram or watching YouTube animations, for example, because those are very passive compared to using an AI. That said, most kids, younger generations, when they use AI, it tends to be for companionship. So having a virtual friend, basically. At the beginning of this live, I talked about the potential risks of that, especially with character AI, which again is the third most used AI on Earth. That's because it's young people using it. It's kids who are using it. There are concerns with that, so that needs to be monitored by the adult. The adults need to know what that means and what that is, and I don't think most parents are equipped with that yet, because they are not necessarily using AI in the same way as younger people are. So I think it's important for them to know what character AI is, what it can do, what it can't do, etc., etc., to make sure at least they're appraised of the situation. So I think that used properly, AI for study can be phenomenal, because it basically means you have a personal tutor. Previously, having a personal one-to-one tutor was something that only the richest kids could have. It was just not accessible. Having a tutor, having somebody who knows what you know and how to get you to the next steps is phenomenal. And you can now have that with an artificial intelligence. Everyone can have that potentially. There was a study done in Nigeria where they gave kids access to an after-school tutor, an AI tutor. There was also a teacher in the classroom to make sure they actually used the tutor and didn't just, chat about Pokemon or video games with the AI. The teacher was there to make sure they used it for learning. Pokemon, I'm showing my age. Not even Fortnite, Roblox. They didn't talk about Roblox. There we go. And they showed that these kids in Nigeria, they learned 2 years of curriculum in 6 months because they had access to a one-to-one tutor who understood where they were and could help them through blocks, etc. So I think used correctly, AI can be incredibly powerful for children if they are using it as a personal tutor. However, it's a powerful tool. It can also be used to cheat. It can write essays for you. We're seeing this even at college level. We're seeing PhDs that have been published that have references to ChatGPT in it. So it's a tool like anything else, and we need to work out correct usages for it. I think that AI, more than any other technology we had, it can make intelligent people, hardworking people, even more productive. But at the same time, it can make people who don't want to do the work, it can make them even more lazy. You can leverage it in either direction to do all the work for you and become lazier and lazier and not learn. Or if you use it intelligently, you can use it to leverage that intelligence and do fantastic things with it. And the choice of which way you go is really up to the individual. So it can be used in both directions. So a child needs guidance in how to use it productively rather than how to use it to be lazy and to cheat. And I think that is something that's going to require the adults, the parents, to know more about how AI can be used as well, and to use it themselves in a productive way. Layla, yes. So Layla is saying Meta's new AI avatars will be similar to character AI. Absolutely. So I covered that at the beginning of the call, specifically talking about the fact that Meta's new AI, sorry, not new AI, that their existing AI, their chatbot will now proactively message you. So it will bring you back into conversations, much like character AI. So it's more of a companion, more of a constant companion, rather than just something that you go to. So it's a slightly scary development because, again, I'm not sure if I trust Meta to handle that sensitively. Alex says, thanks for the answer. Tricky with school age kids using and us adults, teachers learning at the same time. Yeah, exactly. I always think this about smartphones as well, how we'll tell children like, no, you're not allowed a smartphone, or you have to limit your smartphone usage, and then in the same breath we'll pull out our phones and start scrolling. It's very hard for us to to set down guidelines when we don't necessarily have the best behaviors ourselves. So we will scroll on TikTok for hours, but then we'll turn to a kid and say, don't do that, that's it's bad for you. It's like, well, the kids see us on our telephones all the time, so they want telephones and they want to do the same thing as us. It's the same thing with AI. We need to have good AI habits ourselves first before we can teach kids what those habits are. Otherwise, we just don't have knowledge of what that looks like. So I agree, it's a learning journey. Holly's saying, it's a business opportunity to teach parents how to use AI for kids. Yeah, exactly that. So I think whenever there is uncertainty, whenever there is a big pressing question and people need guidance, then there is always going to be a business opportunity. For that specifically, I would start to produce content. And I can't think of anyone who does this. I know a lot of AI creators, people in the space on TikTok, Instagram, etc. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head who is talking about how to use AI safely with kids. So I think I'm probably wrong here, but I think there's a wide open space for somebody to step into that area and start to educate parents on, this is what AI is, this is what it's good for, this is what you need to be worried about, this is what you should help your kids with, etc., etc. I think that would be a really valuable educational resource. I would start personally. I don't have kids, so this is not for me to do. I'm not going to teach other people's kids how to use AI. But if I was a parent and I was worried about these things, I would start to educate myself, and then I would immediately start to also teach and talk about these topics online, build up an audience around that. Maybe work with schools as well. I think there's some opportunities there. And basically build up resource packs, or write a book, or kind of consolidate your learning and advice in one place. And then, yes, that can be monetized as a business for sure, because I'm sure there are a lot of parents out there who have this question, they have this problem. So if you can start providing answers, there's always going to be a business there. You guys go for it. I don't have kids, so I can't do this, but somebody should. If anyone knows of a creator or an influencer who does talk about those topics, drop it in the comments, because that'd be really useful to know. Will says, where do the parents get the knowledge to start? By being curious, basically. The interesting thing about modern AI, so large language models, so ChatGPT, for example, is there aren't that many experts. There are people like Ethan Mollick or Nate B. Jones, for example, who super smart guys, and they're the closest we have to our top experts. But it's a relatively open field because it's so new. So a lot of people are still working out how to integrate these tools into our life, our business, into basically humanity. So because we're all working through this at the same time, it allows this very open environment where people are learning and teaching and talking about what it is that they're learning. So I'm actually in a few WhatsApp groups with other creators creators in the field, and everybody is so open in a way that I've never seen in any other field, because we are all students, we are all learning. There's always something new every single week, so everyone's kind of on that back foot, which means that anyone who spends a little bit of time learning, studying, they have a question in their head, like, how do we make sure this is safe for kids? They start with that lens. I think they can carve out a space quite easily and start to talk to people who have that same question. So it's exciting in that way, because we do not have these cemented experts that everybody has to listen to, otherwise they get ostracized. So I think that's really, really exciting. Oh, here we go. Devon, I can never say this guy's name, but yes, Kurzgeskat. You're going to have to look in the, I will look it up here. I know who you mean, but I can't say his name out loud. AI for kids. There he is. So we are, I'm sorry, I assume it's German. Kurzgesagt. So we spark curiosity in people about science, humanity, and the future of our planet. So I know their YouTube videos are fantastic, very good visual explainers. And it looks like they are doing some focus on AI for kids. So I would definitely have a look at that. Thank you for that, Devin. What's the best source for AI education? Using Coursera, Find Andrew Ng, and Deep Learning AI. Yep, anything by Deep Learning AI is basically fantastic. So it is all free as well, which is fantastic. It's a bit tricky because on Coursera, it comes up with a price, but you can ignore that. And then if you go down to the bottom, it will have in very small text, right at the bottom, it will say audit this course. So you can get access to any of the Deep Learning AI courses on Coursera for free if you audit them. If you pay, you can get certification. You can, I think you can get a LinkedIn certificate. If that's important to you, fantastic. Otherwise, you can do them for free. They have a few. They have the best one to start with is, let me pull it up, is Generative AI for Beginners, I think it's called. One problem with their website and their output is that they have so much that it's kind of hard to know where to begin. I'm just going to have to see, I can't even find it. Yeah, here we go. Generative AI for everyone. That's the one that I would recommend starting with. So get an overview of AI tools, understand the impacts of generative AI in business. So it starts to go into the technicals of how generative AI works, but it doesn't get too heavy. So you don't need to know the mathematics, for example. 3 hours long. I would also, if you do want to know more about how these models work, then Karpathy, anything by Karpathy. So his YouTube channel. And the most recent video is deep dives into LLMs like ChatGPT. Is not a short video, it's 3.5 hours long. So he used to run AI at Tesla, and he was a co-founder of OpenAI. He knows his stuff. More importantly, though, he's an engineer who can actually explain topics, which is very, very, very rare. There's a lot of people with brains the size of galaxies out there, but when it comes to explaining these concepts to people who don't understand the maths or the technical details, they fall flat because they have, they've spent so long in this world of academia and this world of building AI models, for example, that they can no longer explain to lay people what they're doing. But Karpathy does not have that problem. So deep dive into LLMs like ChatGPT, definitely check it out. 3.5 hours long, so take it in chunks, but it is fantastic. There's also Stephen Wolfram's book. What's it called? I'm going to put it up because it is called What is ChatGPT Doing and Why Does It Work? So the book is free online. I say book, it's a very long article. So you can get the article here on his website. It looks terrifying, but it's actually very well written. But it's also in a Kindle, not Kindle, an Amazon version that you can buy. I think it's about $10 or so. If you want a printed copy, I recommend that because then you can write notes in the margin as well. But that goes through how the maths works, but it does it in a very good way. Again, he's a good educator and he can teach technical subjects. However, you don't need to know how it works to use ChatGPT. So I think there are different levels. It's interesting to know about this stuff. It's fun for keeping up with the academic discussions and to know when a new model drops or a new architecture or some kind of new discovery, to be able to put that in the context of, oh, okay, that's interesting because this is how transformers work, blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's a great breakthrough. I know where that fits. However, for the day-to-day usage of artificial intelligence, you don't need to know this stuff. So it's a kind of similar with the internet. Like, how many people know what HTTPS stands for? How many people know what URL stands for? it doesn't matter. We still use the internet. We still can type in web addresses. So there are different layers of abstraction. If you are building this stuff, then obviously you need to know it. If you're just using this stuff, then you don't need to go into that level of detail unless you are interested or you want to get into building. Deep learning AI is fantastic in that case because the generative AI for everyone course is very wide, and then it allows you to get into the more detailed subjects if that's of interest to you. And because they have such a huge library, you can really go from there. Who else? I'm just trying to think. Carpathy. Oh, there he is. 3 Blue 1 Brown, again on YouTube. 3 Blue 1 Brown has a, where is it? Courses. Yeah, so he's got a course, basically, pours out on deep learning. So again, 3 Blue 1 Brown is a fantastic scientific educator, and has beautiful animations that show you how large language models work, show you how neural networks work. So I highly recommend that as well if you want to get into the kind of background of what's happening here. So this is what is a neural network, gradient descent, how neural networks work, backpropagation calculus. See, it goes pretty heavy. Large language model is explained briefly. That's his 7-minute long video, which I highly recommend, which is kind of condensation of his larger course. And it just goes through everything that works. So I'd highly recommend these. There are books as well. I'm just trying to think of some. Co-Intelligence by Ethan Mollick is, again, it's not technical, but it's talking about how we should be thinking about AI. Really useful. There's a book by David Shearer, Shirer, called Basic AI, and it is basic, and that's a very good primer as well. So there's a lot of resources out there. Honestly, though, YouTube probably has the best ones, and deeplearning.ai. Devin says, I'm the man with the AI big brain. No, I'm not. You need to go and watch Nate B. Jones and Ethan Mollick stuff. Nate stuff in particular is, Nate makes me feel thick. I chat to him on WhatsApp and stuff, and I haven't told him this, but yeah, he makes me feel very thick when I talk to him. Nate B. Jones is, again, a fantastic educator in technical subjects. Oh, so Davey just finished Gen AI for everyone. It was very good. Fantastic. Cool. And just check any other questions. What do you think about near future medical AI and its implementation in the UK? This is from Adnam. Big question. So I think there are certain fields of medicine where AI is already extremely useful. So imaging, for example. So a lot of radiographers I know are concerned. If I was going through medical school right now, I would not necessarily be looking to go into imaging because this is one of the fields that I don't think we're going to need as many imaging consultants as we do now. I would say in general, and in the UK specifically, things move very slowly. So even though these technologies are coming online, it's going to take years before they're fully approved. And it's going to take years before they are kind of understood and deployed across the services. Each, not CCG, they're not called that anymore, but each group is going to have to come up with their own guidelines, and it's just going to be a snail's pace moving through. Couple that with the fact that there are doctors' unions, and the medical association, etc. I think that jobs in particular are going to be safe for a fair amount of time. So I just hope that there won't be blockages for deploying AI when AI can save people's lives. And I'm hoping that saving jobs is not going to take precedence over saving lives, but we will see. That's me personally. I think it's important that we use the best tools for the job. And if that is not a human doctor, for me personally, that doesn't matter. It should be whatever saves the life of the patient, whatever helps us to alleviate the system as a whole to process more patients. But I would say if you are a doctor, if you are in medicine, it depends where you are in your career. If you are a medical student right now, There would be certain fields, like imaging, for example, which I probably wouldn't go into, whereas something like surgery is probably safer. There and medicine, so hospital, for example, is going to be safer. But if you are later in your career, I would say there's nothing to worry about. If you're a consultant in particular, I think you're pretty safe, because the NHS, well, the government in the UK is slow moving, the NHS is slow moving, and then the individual groups and hospitals are going to be slow moving too. So it's going to take a while before all of this filters through. Cool. I'm going to. Paddy says you got really good looking. It's my cameras and my lights, but thank you, Paddy. I'm actually going to start. I'm changing my setup again tomorrow. This is not about AI, but I'm going to start. So what you're seeing now here is on TikTok. What you're seeing over here is on the Nice Camera. I'm going to start using the Nice Camera for TikTok because I finally worked out how to do it. So I'll be even better looking tomorrow. That's the the plan. But I'm going to finish up because that's been about 50 minutes. So all of this, everything on the live, if you've joined me on the live, it's messy. It's me chatting to people. It's me reading things. It is me umming and erring and all over the place. So it's fine. If you want to be here and ask questions, this is the best place to do it. However, what we are also doing, because we're slightly mad, is we're taking these lives and turning them into a tidier YouTube version. So we've already published 2. So they are kind of tidied up, they're edited, they're less rambling, there's less of me blah, blah, blahing. Like this part, for example, we'll probably take out. So there's the 1 hour version of that. So, and that's got chapters, so you can skip to the bit that's relevant to you. We are also starting to cut it into 5 or 10 minute segments. So for example, I talked about Meta and Meta's new proactive chatbot. We will clip that out into its own 5-10 minute long video as well. So that's easy to find. And I'm putting out a newsletter where I take what I've discussed and then turning it into a kind of a news update, but it's not just his AI news, because there's already some great newsletters like the Rundown AI. We don't need any more newsletters like that, but instead it's my take on these things. So I think in the very first issue we ever put out, I said that Microsoft were bullshitting us. Like it's that kind of level, because I'm not afraid to say when something is corporate nonsense compared to, oh, okay, this is genuinely quite useful. So if you are interested, check out the YouTube where you'll get clean versions of these lives, and also subscribe to the newsletter and you'll be able to get a daily summary, which is these are the things we talked about. Here are the time codes if you're interested in that part. And all of that allows you to find the things that are going to be interesting to you without having to come to the live. But you should come to the live because you can ask questions and you can help to form up the live as well. Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm going to hop off and I will see you tomorrow, same time. Cheers, guys.